on the face of it, you might think that the Chinese government has banned crypto and
Yeah.
Bitcoin, so therefore no Chinese person will use it. And that's not true. And you have to understand this like kind of raucous nature. Like for example, VPNs in China are
Yeah.
technically illegal. The restrictions kind of more like regulated like weed companies. I mean, if you're like an average smoker, they can't really like arrest everybody who smokes weed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you're like selling
A
weed on
supplier.
mass,
Yeah.
a supplier, they might try to go after you. But the general idea is that like you're not supposed to use a VPN, yet, Chinese people massively use VPNs, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
from quantitative, qualitative, and they do often what's called flipping the Great Firewall or flipping over the wall. So I don't know how
Yeah.
familiar your listeners are, but just a quick primer. China has a Great Firewall, and essentially what that means is that if you're within China, you can't really readily access stuff from the Western internet. So for example, like Facebook or any of the social media apps or Google or a lot of sites. And that's actually, that control has been tightened. So they've gotten
Yeah.
pretty aggressive about, stopping or censoring certain technical networks and platforms and apps and things like that, right? But most Chinese people will, even though it's kind of restricted, they will use VPNs, and that way they can show their IP address as being outside of China and they can have access to all this content. And
Yeah.
so that's why, for example, if you go on X, for example, you are actually able to interface with the Chinese crypto community.
Very active community too.
Yeah,
Extremely
extremely
active.
active,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
extremely
Yeah.
active.